Right now, there's a huge global battle playing out that's reshaping our entire world. But, it's not being fought with tanks or troops. This is a war of tariffs, technology, and really the future of the electric car. It really does sound like the start of a bad joke, doesn't it? But the connection between them? Well, that's at the very heart of this massive geopolitical struggle that's happening all across the globe. You see, this big worldwide push for a green transition has accidentally kicked off an all-out economic war for who gets to dominate the electric vehicle market. And, as we're about to see, the winners and losers in this fight are popping up in some pretty unexpected places. So our story really begins with the construction of a wall. Not a physical one, of course, but a financial one. A giant wall of tariffs that the West is building to try and stop a flood of affordable Chinese electric vehicles. And just look at the timeline here. I mean, in just a few months, the world's biggest Western economies all moved in almost perfect lockstep. This was not a series of random decisions. No, this was a coordinated, rapid-fire response to what they saw as a huge economic threat, the fear that China would end up dominating a key technology of the 21st century. And the scale of that response is, well, it's staggering. The US basically slammed the door shut with an effective tariff rate of over 247%. The EU and Canada, they followed right behind with their own massive taxes. The message couldn't have been more clear. A fortress was going up, and Chinese EVs were not welcome. Now, this trade war created a really fascinating and pretty tough situation for one country in particular. Canada suddenly found itself facing this brutal choice. Do we protect our traditional agricultural heartland, or do we protect our industrial future? So, after Canada raised its EV tariffs, China hit back hard by hammering Canada's canola exports. But then, Beijing made an offer, which people started calling the Golden Deal. They said, drop your EV tariffs and we'll start buying your canola again. This just sparked a massive national debate, pitting farmers who needed to feed the fields against auto workers who were desperate to protect the factory. And let me be clear, this was not some abstract debate. That number, negative 76%, that's the catastrophic plunge in Canadian canola exports to China in a single month after the tariffs hit. This was a real economic crisis unfolding on the prairies, and it made that Golden Deal look incredibly tempting. And this quote from Saskatchewan's Premier Scott Moe, it just perfectly captures the desperation and the frustration. For the leaders in Canada's agricultural heartland, this wasn't about geopolitics, it was about survival. They felt like their livelihoods were being sacrificed for some national industrial strategy happening thousands of kilometers away. Okay, so now let's flip the script and look at this whole conflict from a corporate perspective. There's this one company, the Chinese EV giant BYD, that found itself right in the middle of the storm. And its response, well, it shows us two totally different ways of navigating this new divided world. First up, there's the story in North America. BYD had this massive dream for Mexico, a huge factory to serve the entire continent. But that dream, it's been put on pause, indefinitely. So why? Well, it all came down to intense pressure from the United States. Washington saw a BYD factory in Mexico as a backdoor, right? A way for Chinese cars to sneak around its tariff wall. The pressure on Mexico got so intense that BYD's plans for a factory that could build 300,000 cars a year were just quietly shelved. The dream was dead, at least for now. But, and this is a big but, while that door was slamming shut in North America, another one was swinging wide open down in South America. In Brazil, it wasn't a paused dream. It was a billion-dollar bet, and boy, was it paying off. Brazil's President Lula, he didn't see a threat. He saw an opportunity. His government enthusiastically welcomed BYD's $1 billion investment to build its biggest factory outside of Asia, creating 20,000 jobs on the site of an old, abandoned Ford plant. For them, it became a symbol of a whole new industrial era. So what made Brazil so different? Well, part of the answer lies in this brilliant piece of technological adaptation. BYD didn't just bring its cars, it brought a new kind of technology that was tailor-made for the Brazilian market. This was its secret weapon. They came up with something called a biofuel plug-in hybrid. And this is genius because it turns a potential weakness into a major strength. Instead of pushing pure EVs, which have issues with charging infrastructure, BYD created a system that taps into Brazil's huge ethanol industry. The car drives like an EV, but it gets recharged on the go by a small engine that runs on cheap, local, renewable biofuel. Okay, so let's break it down. You get that instant, quiet power of an electric motor. But instead of range anxiety, you've got this small flex fuel engine that just acts as a power generator for the battery. And the result? With a full battery and a full tank of ethanol, you get this absolutely staggering range of up to 1,200 kilometers. It's really the perfect bridge technology for a developing market. All right, let's pull back and look at the big picture here. We've seen the tariff walls, the tough choices in Canada, and the two very different paths for BYD. So what does all this mean for the bigger goal of a global green transition? This quote from the economist Guntram Wolff, it gets right to the heart of the issue. Everybody wants to fight climate change, sure, but they also want to protect their own industries and jobs. And so the race to decarbonize our planet is just crashing head-on into the desire to deglobalize our economies. And this is the new reality. That noble goal of saving the planet has kind of morphed into this fierce competition. It's not just about reducing emissions anymore. It's about controlling the patents, the factories, and the supply chains that are going to power the green economy of the future. This whole trend actually has a name: eco-nationalism. So instead of a global collaboration to build the best, cheapest green technology for everybody, what we're seeing is the rise of these protected regional green economies. An American green tech ecosystem, a European one, a Chinese one, all walled off from each other. And that leaves us with this final, critical question. The stories of Canadian farmers, Mexican factories, and Brazilian biofuels, they're all just pieces of this much bigger puzzle. And they force us to ask if we can really tackle a global crisis like climate change with nationalist solutions. Is this great race going to be a collaborative marathon or just a series of lonely sprints in walled-off lanes? The answer to that is probably going to define the next century.